Hey everybody, welcome back to the stream or the video if you're watching it later. I wanted to take a break from the coaching series just because of the college hoop games that have happened yesterday with all the upsets, so I figured we'd go ahead and talk about that today. So, starting off yesterday, I was in meetings most of the day, so I'd missed watching the games live, but I saw the notification that Stanford had upset USC, taking down one of the last two remaining undefeated teams. And then I went back and saw highlights, and Stanford just played out of their minds, and USC didn't play so great. And then moving on to that night, we saw Texas Tech go into Waco and beat the number one team in the country in Baylor without their top scorer, Shannon Jr., still out with his back issues. Baylor was one of the few teams in the country that hasn't been plagued with these health and safety protocols so far, and have been able to field a team the most consistently this season. So, moving on to that game, we'll talk about it a little bit. Texas Tech was, like I said, missing their top scorer in Shannon Jr. They were missing him and McCullough, who are their top two scorers against Kansas 5 days ago now when they beat number six Kansas here in Lubbock. And then they were missing a lot of people and could barely field a team up in Ames, Iowa, when they played Iowa State last week and lost by four. So I think we need to start giving this Texas Tech team some credit. Mark Adams has maintained the high level of success that Texas Tech had seen in the last couple of years. Tech is the first and only team to have top five wins in, I think it was 7 consecutive seasons so far. And so that's just incredible to me. Seeing this team that nobody really thought of as anything, even when we had Bob Knight, we could barely make any noise to what we are now, especially with all the commits and recruits we're getting, along with transfers. It's insane to see unfold. So in that game, we had McCullough come off the bench, who's our second leading scorer on the season, and he put up 12 on 5 of 8 shooting. While he was limping up and down the court, obviously his ankle was still bothering him. If anybody wanted to see the game highlights, you can see him just struggling to make it up and down the court the whole game. But it was huge to have him up there and to be able to shoot, I guess, as efficiently as he did. He went 2 from 5 from three and 5 of 8 in total. And then we had Adonis Arms make some huge plays. He was our leading scorer on the night. He had 14. Arms was unrecruited, had no scholarship offers to any college basketball program coming out of high school. He had to walk on. He didn't even do a walk on. He did like a tryout practice for a JUCO in his town, and then transferred to Winthrop, and then transferred to Texas Tech as a senior. I think he's a sixth-year senior this year. He's definitely taking advantage of those extra bonus years because of the pandemic, which I'm not going to complain about. He was incredible last night. He had a turnaround dunk to put us back up by three towards the end of the game, which kind of sealed the win, on top of us finally being able to make free throws after being a very below average free throw shooting team on the season. So I don't know. That's just all I have to say about Texas Tech going into the March Madness picture. If we want to look at some kind of funny stats, we can look at the date of the last unbeaten's to lose in the last 10 seasons. So starting in 2013, Michigan lost on January 13. In 2014, Wichita State lost in March on the 23rd. And then on 2016, we had SMU lose on the 24th of January. In 2017, we had Gonzaga lose on February 25th. And none of those teams won a championship. And then I'm going to skip to 20 and 21 right quick. In 20, we had San Diego State, my bad. I was just reading the abbreviation. San Diego State lose on February 22nd in 2020, and Gonzaga lose April 5th in 2021. So they were a crazy good team, too, to lose in the championship game against Baylor last year. But what I wanted to talk about was in 2018, on December 30th, we had Arizona State, TCU, and Villanova lose altogether, being the last three undefeated teams to lose. And then in 2019, on January 19th, we had Michigan and Virginia lose. And looking at this crazy thing, we'll have when multiple last undefeated teams lost, we had them win the championship. So Villanova won it in 2018 when all three of the last teams lost, and then Virginia won it in 2019 when Michigan and Virginia lost together. And so this season we had USC and Baylor lose together yesterday on January 11th. And I might go ahead and make the bold prediction that USC or Baylor is going to win the championship, just based off of the obscure statistic that we've seen uh, through the last 10 seasons. However, I do want to talk about the other things going on in basketball. We had the Big Ten 2 weeks ago. We only have one team that looked like they were in the tournament picture, and the ACC. And then the ACC went, and we had Duke upset, and we had a couple other teams just beat up on each other. And now I think there's five teams looking like they could make the tournament picture. So from looking like they're going to have a really bad down season to turning almost the whole conference around in a weekend was incredible to see. And then personally, I think Auburn might be the best team in the country this year on film and on paper, just watching them play. They've played incredible basketball throughout the season, and they would be my pick to make it the farthest in the tournament if they play like they have for the first part of the season. But there's still a lot of basketball to be played. We still have 2 months until March Madness even starts, and a lot can happen. Even in the Big 12, I think they have 5 or 6 ranked teams. We had Texas beat Oklahoma yesterday. We had Kansas beat Iowa State by 1 to bounce back from their loss to Texas Tech, and Iowa to finally take a loss from their win against Texas Tech. So we have all of these ranked teams beating up on each other. We had Tech upset Kansas and Baylor, but they lost to Iowa State. We had Texas lose to Oklahoma State, who's one of the few unranked Big 12 teams, and then bounce back with almost a 20-point victory against Oklahoma, who was tied for 4th in the Big 12 with Texas Tech and Texas yesterday. So there's just so many great coaches and great teams and all-around players in the Big 12. I think they're probably the best and deepest conference in college hoops this year, and many years in the past, like at least the last 5 years, they've seemed to be one of the top conferences, unlike in football. So that's really all I have to say. I'm really looking forward to see how this tournament picture plays out. I like the 64 team tournaments because we get to see these guaranteed champions from like the Big East and Sun Belt and stuff like we don't get to see in football or baseball. It's really good to see a one game elimination tournament because anybody can beat anybody. As I've said, Gonzaga went all the way to the championship game and lost. I think it was in 2012, Kentucky was undefeated and then they lost after 30 straight games with, I think, 13 NBA players on that roster in total. So we've just had incredible, memorable games throughout the tournament, and I think that makes it the best playoff per se in any college or professional sport. So that's really all I have to say today. I hope y'all have a great rest of the day, and I'll see y'all back here tomorrow.